Hi, my name is Victoria Cheng. I previously went to Pittsburgh Creative and Performing Arts High School. This past summer, I had the chance to travel to Mongolia on the Urban and Nomadic Cultures program. The program centered on language and cultural discovery. When I was in Mongolia, like everyone else, I ate a lot of food. And I think food says a lot about culture. I noticed there were staple meals that you could find whether you're in the city of Ulaanbaatar, which is more developed than the other areas of Mongolia. Mongolia is unique in that there's the nomadic lifestyle that's coexisting with your modern 21st century kind of life in the city. Mongolia was had a Soviet-dominated communist regime for almost 70 years up until 1990, and as a result, they take a lot of pride in their democratic republic today. And you can imagine with the Soviet-dominated communist regime that their traditional culture was repressed, and now they don't want to ever lose that. Now you can see their celebration of it in their performing arts, like throat singing, or in their celebration of Nadam, the festival, or in monuments like the Genghis Khan statue. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Mongolian nomadic lifestyle. And of course, this doesn't apply to every single nomad, but this was just what I experienced when I stayed in a homestay for 1 week in July. I was being actively involved in doing chores like cooking and cleaning dishes, herding cows, and I learned a lot about how hardworking the nomads are and how hospitable and resourceful they are. On this trip, I learned a lot about myself as well. I am more open-minded and adaptable than I knew myself to be. My biggest fear was not being able to communicate because my homestay parents didn't speak English, but surprisingly, communication was not an issue. I am normally an internal processor, but for this trip I had to be quick to react and slow to judge. I learned how to deal with a packed daily schedule the whole month and little privacy. I constantly wrote down events as a way to process my thoughts. I was able to find comfort in being with people 24/7 despite going into the trip as a comfortable introvert. I also learned that I live in abundance in the US. The program taught me a lot about my American life, and I recognized strong differences in hospitality and necessity, as well as hygiene, pace of life, use of free time, parenting, and role of occupations. I definitely would recommend this experience to my peers because it teaches one so much about the world we live in. In the deepest sense, I believe people around the world are the same. Yes, they are in a different part of the world with different land, resources, and history, but many people want the same things like happiness, success, a good education, provision for their families, a place to belong. I witnessed this when I met Mongolian teenagers. We did a community service project, and teenagers in general are the most friendly people when first introduced. But as our groups, Americans and Mongolians, got to know each other as students, we found that we shared passion for sports, art, and music, as well as the clothing brand Adidas. This experience is more than travel. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be as immersed in something very eye-opening and special.